What is the crack, YouTubers? Welcome to a new episode of Two Bald Knobs. It's myself, Skarnir, and the premature waving of Stevo.
Hey, guys, 6+ Stevo here. For what feels like an eternity since we've done our last episode. It's been a while, hasn't it, mate?
Too long, I think is the term you're looking for there,
Really,
friend.
really
Too long. The planets have finally aligned. We're going to get some hobby on. Are you doing a bit of painting or anything? Or
I am working on something at the moment for a very particular competition that I'm sure we'll chat about later.
Sure, we will. And I decided to actually dig out and see how many gruts I have. So I think I've over 120 gruts. I've a lot of them. I have a lot of gruts. There's a lot. So I'm going to be building gruts for a grut horde for no apparent reason other than I can. And we're going to be waffling on as we normally do. So what are the topics for today's Two Bald Knobs podcast?
Well, if people haven't noticed by the thumbnail already, we're going to be debating the legends, the Warhammer legends.
Jesus.
Chat about that. That should be interesting. I'm bracing myself for this.
Get me boxing gloves ready, I will. Get
And,
the gloves out.
yeah. Can't find a gum shield anywhere. Yeah, chatting about your vehicle build competition. But since it's been a while since we've actually done one of these, what have you actually been up to recently, like on your channel, hobby-wise?
Hobby-wise, well, I started the building competition, like I said. That's running currently. I haven't actually started my own build yet, which is nothing new, but I will get it finished.
I'll stop you there. Right. Last time you did the vehicle build competition, small vehicle build competition.
It's still in bits here. Still stares at me on the desk, mocking me.
Yeah. Now I didn't finish my entry either. My entry is still so close to being complete, but it wasn't quite complete for entering. But you're the runner of the competition.
I know, setting a bad example here, gents. Setting a bad example.
This time, you haven't even started.
I haven't. No, I have not started my build yet. But there is a month left, so I'm just giving people a head start.
A month's not as long as you think, man.
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
I find that with these builds, the initial stage of it goes quite quick. It's once you start getting to the fine little details, now it seems to slow right down. At least it does for me, anyway.
No, I know what you mean. I can tell you exactly what my problem was with the last one. Is it's the first proper scratch build I went into, and I think I started detailing it. I got really into the detailing before I actually finished the whole base construction of it. So I'm not doing a full scratch build this time. I'm just going to loot an eBay salvage Land Raider. So it should be a lot less work for me. But that's my plan anyway. One or two of them stashed away. You're walking away on a vehicle, aren't you?
I am, yes. I am. I'll bring it up on camera. Try to. Because it is currently partially. I'm building from a Rhino chassis, and I am building for the competition a big truck. And so I'll hold up to the camera what I've got thus far.
Rhino, the front, and then like the battle wagon turret.
So yeah, I'll turn that around.
Loads of bits.
So nice. Yeah, thus far, this is how it's taken shape. So like I said, this bit's all gone together pretty quick. Now I'm being very gentle because this part is currently not glued in, but actually, I cut that from the.
Oh, you cut it out? Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was a separate piece.
No, I've hacked that out of the old school battle wagon. And actually, the way you cut it out, it actually wedges right in there. So it's literally held in there firm. So I haven't glued that bit in yet. And I need to sort of, this open bit, I'm going to plastic hard and sort of build a bit of a hole bit coming out and down. So I've got to build a little bit to go in there. And then I'm using these two turrets that are from Puppets War. Awesome little turrets these. I can't recommend these enough. Really cool, highly detailed, fantastic little turrets. So yeah, and then today, just in the post from a very cool subscriber, was kind enough to send me the main armament that I want for this, because the weapon I want for my big track is a super cannon.
Yeah.
I wanted something different, Bad Moon, shooty. So I wanted a really big, stupid-looking cannon on this thing. And so he sent me 4 of them, actually. I only asked for 1. He was kind enough to send me 4. And he sent me
4?
these. It's the Doomsday cannon from the Necron sort of flyer thing. So that...
Some swank decker there.
Yeah, so that's going to mount on...
Look, we'll enlarge that one there so the viewers can get a decent gander.
Sort of like so. So there's a bit of filing and chopping and bits to do, but yeah, it's got a... It's going to have pretty... And I've got a bit of cabling and stuff coming out of it. But yeah, they've looted all sorts for this. So you've got... so far going into this kit is Green One Battle Wagon, Puppets War Turrets. I've got Battle Wagon parts. I've got Rhino, Necron Cannon. And then I've got a whole load of other bits. Like the ram that I'm putting on the front is probably going to be from the old school truck. Probably one of these bits.
Oh yeah, the Gorka Morka era one. Yeah.
I've got all sorts of random bits probably going on. I am playing around with the idea also of using the sort of
land speeder engines.
Land speeder, yeah. I'm toying with the idea of giving this thing a bit more of a boost because the orcs don't think it's fast enough. Putting that on there just to give it a bit of a thrust and just make this thing as ridiculous as possible, really. I was just going to do a looted wagon. That was the original idea, but actually the looted wagon options, they're not very exciting. And I wanted to build something that actually is a bit special and a bit one-off and got some stupid firepower on it.
Well, I find that with the rules as well. You don't have to stick to a rules legal vehicle because I find that they're very restricting. Like you brought up a valid point there. Some of the rules are a bit restricting, I'd say.
Well, speaking of which, let me just pull these out a sec. Yeah, speaking of which, I just picked up this recently. Been meaning to get it for ages. And so it was this your competition that actually prompted me to get it. So
because you wanted to know what you could or couldn't build for a big track.
Good look and look at the different things in here. So this has got the rules in it for Grot tanks, Grot mega tanks, Squiggoth, Mecha Dregs, lifter wagons, the big track, which has got a huge data sheet. And this is why I like the big track, because it's got a huge data sheet with a shit ton of options. It's got so many options. It can have a ludicrous amount of DACA. It can be a transport. It's got some cool special rules. So it looks like a really fun thing to do. It's also got a kill tank in here and custom stomper, Chinook, Warcott. So yeah, there's quite a lot of data sheets in there and all the points and everything. So yeah, cool book, and it's pretty cheap to get hold of actually. But not very common. They're not many of them around actually. The Forge World books.
I don't think a lot of people use Forge World stuff because I was just looking at the rules over local tournaments and it's no index units, no Forge World stuff. You know what I mean? So I find that's probably the reason. If it's not tournament legal, people tend not to use stuff in the general community a lot, which leads on to Legends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is the thing, the point I was trying to get across. If something's not in the mainstream with especially in tournaments, because tournaments have such a high influence over the hobby, I find that stuff just it won't be accepted on a whole, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that is true. And it is true certainly of a lot of people. I mean, it certainly wouldn't be true if myself and yourself got together and had a game.
No, it's different. There's nothing stopping like me and you turning around and going, let's play Third Edition 40k. That's not what we're talking about when I say that.
I mean, it doesn't even go that far though. It doesn't even go that far. It's sort of like a few friends, a friend playing another friend around the house or at the club or whatever, and they play and they, you allow index. You're still playing match play. You're still playing the points and by the rules and whatever. But you wouldn't. You wouldn't you wouldn't restrict the use of index units or Forge World units and things like that if they've got
Oh,
rules
we
and they've got the.
wouldn't. Yeah, but
And
that's not what happens with the community as a whole, though. There's
no, no, there are
there's what's
some.
accepted and what's in the current meta is allowed, and anything else isn't. That's the problem with Legends.
I think it's more of a problem with the people that people are playing with. Like someone I noticed said on the group earlier, oh, in our local store, the manager won't let us play with Forge World units and things. I think I commented that manager needs to be fired out of a super cannon because that's just, to me, that's ludicrous. And that's more of an issue with the players rather than
I
the
don't know. I
rules.
think I'll be the devil's advocate on this one. So the GW staffer, right? He's going to want people playing with current miniatures in his store because there's no point in noobs coming into the store and being like, "That's a really cool miniature. Where can I get it?" Oh, sorry, we don't do the rules for that miniature anymore, and we don't sell it anymore, so you can't actually get it. Or Forge World, it's like, oh well, you can order off of Forge World, but the staffer is not going to want to push Forge World because it doesn't help him and his sales with his store.
Is that going to be an issue in GW really though in their stores? Because from what I gather, I mean, I've never played a game. Actually, that's a lie. Yes, I did once, an Apocalypse game for a special event. So yeah, they're essentially GW stores. The tables there, from what I gather, from what I see of it most time, and the way that they sort of use them is more to introduce people to the hobby, to try the game out, and sort of teach people the rules and things. And generally, they kind of quite a few years back, they kind of started going away from letting people almost use it as a gaming club.
I suppose it just depends on the store. If you think about it, having people playing the game in your store is free advertising. Because, you know what I mean? Especially when, when I used to play, I used to live in my local games workshop when I was like 17, 18, 19. And it was quite literally that. It was, your armies had to be fully painted.
Yeah.
And you're going to be building legal armies because it's like whatever the up-to-date codexes and stuff are. So they're going to be legal armies of miniatures that can be sold. You're going to be fully painted armies, and it's going to be 2 people playing a game. So, new people coming in will be like, oh, this is actually what the hobby is. This is a game running. It's free advertising, like, you know what I mean? It's like they provide the space, you'll play the games.
I think this will be less of an issue for local clubs and things. And I think
local clubs. Well, I don't know. It depends on the mentality of the players. I think it really depends on your group of players.
Yeah, totally. And I think it's up to the community as a whole to champion things like this, to champion things like using index units or legends units or Forge World units and things and allowing them for use in games. If they're playing tournaments things, then obviously they're going to have set rules and they're going to want the tournaments to be balanced and, have the up-to-date things and restrict certain things that may be imbalanced.
Sorry, you said balanced in a sentence referencing 40k. I couldn't. It's yeah.
Well, the game's never going to be balanced, is it? But they're constantly trying to balance it. That scale is this way and that, and this way and that.
I wouldn't agree with that statement at all.
The new codex comes out and the balance tips back the other way, and then the next new codex tips back the other way. Every year the points change for everything, but I think that matters less when you're playing a friendly game with your mates. And
like having look at what I'm doing now. I'm building like 90 gruts. You know what I mean? If this isn't having a laugh at your mates, I don't know what bleeding is.
Hey, yeah, and it's tournament legal as well. But I don't think you would be able to get that many games in at the tournament. I think you'd run out of time after first round.
I don't know. Invest in a few movement trays. You know what I mean? Just blue tack the buggers down, and there you go.
It takes like 70 dead grots off the table each turn.
Yeah, but just take them off by the handful. That's what I used to do at orcs.
And brush with you.
Yeah, exactly. Just as they're getting killed, just use your stomp. Turn your stomp upside down, because we all know it's a bucket in disguise. Just turn your stomp upside down. Bring a kid's shovel with you and just whoop. There you go. That's that unit of gruts gone. Next.
But no, getting back to the Legends thing. So I know we sort of disagree on the whole Legends things and whether Legends is a good thing or not. Now, I think I want to clarify my point a little. I like Legends, the fact that they have given these points and given these things, another lease of life beyond the indexes, because we both agreed very early on that the indexes, they're not going to be around forever, and don't get too comfortable with your indexes because they're going to disappear. That is going to happen. And so when I heard the news of Legends, I was just really pleased that they had given this stuff a new lease of life. Now, obviously, this isn't me saying that this Legends is the best thing going and it's brilliant and it's the perfect way forward, because obviously I would much prefer if this stuff had never been removed from the codex in the first place. But that, I feel, is a completely separate issue. That's something we would definitely agree on. Mega Armored War Boss should be in the codex.
Oh,
Big
totally.
Mech should be in it, and I don't think you'd find.
We've said this, I don't know how many times. It's like if they took, like, I don't know what they are, because I don't read Space Marine codexes, funnily enough. But if they took, like, Space Marine Captain in Terminator armor out of the Space Marine Codex as an option, there would have been riots on the street, like.
Well, they've done that, haven't they? Not that, but they've done you've lost things like we lost our Big Mechs and Pain Boys on bikes. They lost their chaplains on bikes. They lost. So I think we're far from the only faction that has lost stuff.
Yeah, but stuff that's so central and core, like Mega Armored War Boss, it's like such an important HQ choice.
Oh yeah,
do you know what I mean?
It goes against the very fluff. It's like, why would the biggest, meanest, toughest orc in the tribe allow his Nobz to have this?
Oh
awesome
the Mega Armored Nobz over there have better armor. Yeah.
I mean, you could work that in a fluff, and I'm sure the War Boss might prefer to be quicker on his feet and might see that as a bit wimpy. But it's shit that they've taken that option away from us, and that is. We will definitely agree on that. But in terms of what they've done with Legends, I just think I'm just relieved that they've thrown the rules out there for people to use. And it is bad that it is gonna, certain clubs and things may not allow it, and certain players might not allow it in their games. But I would just sort of say that you've kind of got to, I guess, try and associate with the players that are of the same similar mindset as yourself, and looking for the same kind of game as yourself and things, which with several different ways to play now, I guess is getting a bit harder, because some people like open play, some people like narrative, some people like match play, some people like pure tournament rules play, I guess. So there's almost 4 different ways to play the game now, isn't there?
It just really depends. I think the culture in large, the most popular one would be tournament legal units being played. And we've also heard, way back when we saw pictures being leaked before the codex came out, we saw orcs on 32mm bases, and it's like, oh no, it's okay, you'll still be able to use your 25s. I said back then that people would start enforcing you to use 32s. Lo and behold, it's happening. You know what I mean? So I don't just say shit just to store it up. I'm like, Games Workshop don't do anything without having a purpose behind it. And there's always a purpose. And I think with Legends, what they're doing is they're kicking the can down the street to ultimately phase these miniatures out altogether. So it's like, this is like the last little sort of breadcrumb they're showing people who own those miniatures, just to placate them, just to, oh look, we care, we give you rules. They're not in the meta anymore, and they're not tournament legal, which is pretty much the death sentence, that's where I get my opinion from. It's a case of, if it's not in the current meta, then it might as well not have been bothered. They might as well not have bothered. They turned around and said in one instance, it's like, oh, you can use these miniatures forever, and then in the next instance they're saying, oh well, it's up to local tournament organizers to run Legends tournaments. So I'm like I can see through your smokescreen there, Games Workshop. I know exactly what you're doing.
Well, that will happen. I mean,
I'm sure there will be Legends tournaments, but will it be the norm? No.
No. I mean, it won't be the norm. Certainly, the big tournaments won't touch it with a barge pole. That's obvious. That definitely won't happen. But that is they're tournaments purely for competitive play, aren't they? They're purely about that. They care very little for the fluff and the lore and everything. It's pure, you'll go in there to take on all comers and win at all costs and build the most beardy list possible. That's what those sort of tournaments are about. But like I say, on the local club level, friendly tournaments, small tournaments run between you and your friends. You say, we'll allow Legends units and things in there. I think that will happen. It just depends on the gaming group you find yourself in.
I don't think so. I think that's going to be that's not going to be the norm. I think that's going to be very rare to come across, unless you and your mates specifically get together and organize things amongst yourselves, which will happen. I'm not saying that won't happen. That will happen, but that won't be the norm. That's the argument I have. I think that's where we disagree. It's not that.
I don't even think we disagree on that. I agree with you 100% on that. It won't be the norm. But again, I'm going to say only at a tournament level. I meeting up with a fellow gamer at a club or meeting up with a friend to play a friendly match play game. I would be very surprised if anyone I came up against said, I don't want you using that Forge World unit. I don't want you, like in a club, in a games workshop or in a tournament, obviously, but in your local club, playing a friendly game with someone, even a random that you've never met before, if it's just a friendly game and you bring your impressive Forge World unit out or your converted model out, whatever that's got data sheet and rules and points, I'd be very surprised if there were, not that there aren't people like that, but I think those sort of people are fairly few and far between who would say, oh no, I'm not playing you that. And I think it just gives these things a bit of a lease of life in the same way that it has for Age of Sigmar. These things aren't competitive. I know that a lot of these old fantasy armies and things that they've given rules for in this Legend series for Age of Sigmar, they are compared to the new army books for Age of Sigmar. They're very uncompetitive, but at least they're playable. At least they've got rules and you can use them. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. In terms of will this Legends things last forever in capital letters? Maybe not. But it's given them a lease of life for a good few years, I would say.
I'd
Certainly
say
more than if they just abandoned it with the index.
Like, how old is 8th edition now? We got the index, 2 years ago?
Yeah, the launch of the index, the launch of 8th edition, yeah.
I reckon we'll be lucky if you get that much life out of Legends. Because we already have, even subscribers saying to me, they're not allowed to use Forge World in their local games workshop. Index units were banned, pretty much. There was a vote that they had in their games workshop with the players, and a lot of the newer players were like, no, we don't want to use index stuff. So while it may not be happening to you locally and it may not be happening to me locally, it is happening to people. And I would argue that that's going to more and more become the norm.
How many people play at Games Workshop, though? I was going back to that point. I don't think there's many veterans
I don't know.
that play at Games
I don't know.
Workshop.
But the problem is for people who their only chance is to play at their Games Workshop, it's, you know what I mean?
I think abroad, stateside and stuff, it's more common.
I have heard that before, right? Yeah, I have heard a lot of American players say that they wish that they had a lot more of the gaming culture that the UK has.
Yeah,
like local clubs, I think seem to be a bit of a bigger thing in the UK.
Definitely. I mean, I don't know. I can say from my point, in my games, I'll be using Legends units. So, and Joe, Reroll Joe, texted me after my video went out, and he just texted me. He said, by the way, I don't allow Legends units in my game. Face. I just texted, mate, you're a prick. But it was in jest and stuff, obviously. He's in the games we play. He uses for his Space Marines. He uses Forge World tanks and stuff. We have a great time. We are playing. They're friendly games, but they're competitive games, and we both play to win. But yeah, we allow this use of this stuff in our games, and I'm sure most of the guys out there who've got their, most of us have a small group of friends that we regularly play with, and most of the time singing from the same hymn sheet in terms of the rules and stuff and the way we like to play. So I think in terms of you and your mates playing along, this is going to last a while. And I don't think 9th edition, when it comes out, is going to be a huge departure. I think when 9th edition does arrive, I think all our current codexes will continue to be in use like they have done I don't see it being a huge jump in change of gameplay like 7th to 8th was. I think it'll be sort of 8.5, won't it? And I think,
are we not already on like 8.6 or 8.7 at this stage? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. They're there. Like they say, they're there. They're on there forever. It's kind of luck of the draw in it if it works. It's not the best solution, but the best solution was to go back in time and stop them making those fuck ups with the codexes in the first place, and not taking those bits out. And short of them actually going full U-turn on that and putting them all back in the codex, which, God, I'd be pushing it to make a wish list video for that. I think
it's just it's the same with Games Workshop. It's like it's just about sales. You know what I mean? That's what it all boils down to. And I don't know if I told you my little story that I have before, but what we're seeing is a live service for Games Workshop now. So you boil the rule set, and then it's just chapter approved, and then codex. Like, what, Space Marines are on their second codex for 8th edition?
Yeah.
So they've had the index, a codex, and another codex, and then, you're expected to buy the chapter approved. I don't buy games where you buy the original game and then they want you to pay 20 or 30 quid for DLC, and then more DLC is going to come out, and then more, you know what I mean? Over time, a game that should have cost you maybe 40 quid, they want you to spend 120, 150, 200 quid, because instead of giving you the whole game, they separate chunks of it out. You know what I mean? There's a lot of controversy for it, but that's the thing that's happening with Games Workshop. Years ago, I tried to get into Magic the Gathering, and at that point in time, now I don't know what Magic the Gathering's like now, but at that point in time, it was a case of every 6 months, a card set will come out for Magic the Gathering, and you could use it. Do you know what I mean? You could use it in tournaments and whatever else, but it only had a lifespan. It lasted for 2 years. So that set you'll be able to use legally in tournaments for 2 years. And then after that, you wouldn't be able to. So when I initially got into it, and I was like, hold on a minute. This is a churn. This is a never-ending hobby. You know what I mean? This is a cycle that you're constantly having to put money into. And that's what 40k is turned into now. And Legends is part of that. What we're seeing is the phasing out of miniatures, out of people's collections. And Games Workshop could have quite easily turned around and went, big lobby, no bother. Do you know what we'll do? We'll bring out a kick-ass new multi-part plastic kit that can make the big lobby, the zapper, and your cannon. There was no reason for them not to do that. But instead, they're phasing it out. And then people are going to argue, but, well, the miniatures have been around for so long, you know what I mean? You can't just expect them to indefinitely keep the miniatures going. And it's like, well, what other war games do. Other war games have miniatures that are from the 80s that they still use today, and they've more updated versions. So if other war games can do it, why can't Games Workshop?
My counterpoint with that be, I don't see many other war games that have the extensive range that GW have. Most other war games are a lot smaller in scale and variety in terms of what they have.
Well, that all depends. If you look at a third edition,
I think it'd be a lot easier for them to say you can use all the stuff we produce, because we've produced about 5% worth of what GW have produced over the years in terms of range of miniatures.
But that's all part of the design. Look at the size. Like, even remember back, like if we look at third, fourth, like 5th edition. Me and you played 5th edition, all right?
Yeah, awesome edition.
Remember 5th edition, okay? And remember the Orc Dreadnought. Like, how big the Orc Dreadnought looked on the table. And you know what I mean? In 4th edition, you brought out the Stomper, but the Stomper wasn't used. It was Apocalypse only. So unless you were playing an Apocalypse game, the biggest miniatures we used to see on the table were like, you know, the Dreadnought, and you didn't really have many of them. Like armies were a lot smaller back then.
So I would say Land Raider.
Land Raider.
Would be the
man,
biggest
like,
thing you'd see on the table.
They used to look huge because we used to have smaller armies. We used to have smaller vehicles. But by design, Games Workshop have made it so that kits are bigger and more expensive, and armies in general are larger on a whole. So like you're having to buy more miniatures and you're having to buy bigger miniatures. So I would say that as a counterpoint against the scale of the game. The scale of the game is exactly the scale that Games Workshop want it to be. They want it to be a massive sprawling game with massive it's a miniature war game. It's kind of hard these days to transport around your miniatures. You know what I mean?
It's not just GW that want that. A lot of us want that. When we, young teenagers flipping through White Dwarf and we see the armies, and I'm not saying in terms of the scale creep, but I'm in terms of these vast armies and these things. And you see that big Baneblade, or you see that big Stomper, or the Gorkanaut, or whatever. You get a little nerdy chubby going on, You're like, I want that.
Has it? A nice centerpiece.
That's flashy toy in our army.
As a nice centerpiece to an army, it's like, you've got a Baneblade, and it's like the centerpiece of your army. But that's not the way it's gone now. You know what I mean? It's not a case of you have an Imperial Knight, and it's the centerpiece of your Imperial army. You're just going to have droves.
I remember when I was starting my Necron army back in 3rd edition, and I had the Necron Codex, and I'd got my first box of warriors, and got my little sort of 500-point army, and I'm flipping through the book looking at what I want to get next, and I turn the page and see the monolith. And when I first saw the picture of it, I thought, oh, that must be a Forge World model they're making for the Necrons, because it was, to me, it just seemed huge, massive. I was like, whoa. And when I finally got one, like I say, it was the centerpiece to my army, the monolith, and now they've got all sorts. You've got the obelisk, and you've got the Necron pylon, and these huge, great things that dwarf it in comparison.
Tesseract Vault, all these huge.
I mean, like you say, so like Dreadnought would be kind of like a large miniature on the board. Now Dreadnought is, it's not far off just being another infantry piece now.
Pretty much. That's how the scale has changed. So much has changed. Like everything's bigger kits, monstrous kits. Like they didn't used to be aircraft. So much of the scale of the game has sprawled out and changed quite a lot. But that's been by Games Workshop's design. And it looks awesome, but
I certainly don't think it
scares people off
we
too.
Didn't request either.
There's probably a bit of that. We all wanted bigger and better and more. Always wanted more. Oh yeah. This kit's cool, but even when the Stomper came out, I was like, the first thing I was like, yeah, it's cool looking, but how the hell am I going to bring this to a game? Like,
yeah, it's not the most practical of miniatures, is it?
And it's the same with the Gorkanaut for me. It's like half the time I don't bring the bloody thing because I just can't transport it.
Yeah, mine's in a separate Tupperware box down there that he's kept in because he doesn't fit in. Even the big homemade storage cases I've made, the magnetic ones, even them, it's partly my fault, it's the way I've positioned his claw, but he's a bit of a sod to fit into any kind of transport. But in going back to the point where you said that GW could have released kits for this stuff, they could have brought out new rules for these things, the older stuff and that. On the flip side of that, there's something else GW could have done. They could have done nothing. They could have just said, indexes are no longer legal. Crack on, buy our new kits, buy our new codexes.
But I think new Games Workshop are smarter than that. That's why they've done this. Because if you turn around and say that they're no longer legal, then it's a definite point that they were stopped, and you'll get an immediate reaction. You'll get knee-jerk reaction from the fan base. Oh, yeah. Whereas what they've done is they've done something smart, and they've sort of spread it out over time. They've kicked the can down a little bit so that over time, slowly, progressively, they'll be phased out until it gets to a point where they're just pretty much forgotten about. You know what I mean? Like up until we got the open play rules for the Looted Wagon in chapter approved. The last time we got the Looted Wagon. Oh, the face.
That's what they could have done. That's what they could have done all over again. And I was when they said, "Oh, they're getting points for it," and I was like, "Thank fuck for that." Because I mean, well, they bought in the next chapter. They brought back again for open play only the carts and the things like that, didn't they? And they sort of bring rules. So it's
they split the Looted Wagon up.
Doing stuff, it's not necessarily always done in the right way, and it's what we've wanted. But
it's better than nothing, is what you're saying?
Well, it is better than nothing. Certainly, it's certainly better than open play only. And then obviously Apocalypse as well, isn't in the Apocalypse book a lot of the old vehicles and a lot of the things in.
We got a load of the. Do you know what? I bought the Apocalypse rulebook. I sort of flicked through it, looked at it, and I was like, I think my GW boner sort of died when the new Apocalypse rules came out, because I was like, yeah, no, I don't know. I haven't even opened. I have the cards over there. I haven't opened them.
I'm pretty sure there's a lot of the older stuff and things in there that they put rules for that aren't in.
The Battle Fortress and lots of bits and pieces.
Which is great that it's showing that they are. It's not like I don't think they're really giving off the vibe that they're completely washing their hands of this stuff and trying to get rid of it, or even just give them something just to tide them over for us so they don't go up in arms about it and we get all the negative press. They are giving that stuff, but in the same way that they're giving it for Apocalypse, for Open Play, for Legends, they're doing it in a way that, look, we still support this stuff, but we're not going to support it in tournament rules, which I'm just kind of okay with. And as long as, if your predictions do come true and it gets phased out completely and there are no rules of any kind for this stuff, then yeah, I'm going to be
smuggest Skarnir ever. So smug. So
I don't think you would be smug, though, would you? I think you'd be too devastated to be smug.
I don't know, because I've changed my tact with my wargaming. Solely, I was invested just in 40k and just in orcs, but I've actually started to spread out into other war games just to cushion the blow. Like if the next codex we get is even shittier again, you know what I mean? It's like putting my eggs all into one basket. Sort of, it's great for collecting one army, but you also get kind of shafted. So it's like, well, if it's a crap orcs codex for this edition, it's like, well, I'm not going to really enjoy playing them. You know what I mean? It depends with the rule set, but I just didn't want to be tied down, so I've started buying into other war games. Started looking for my my fix elsewhere, as I've not been happy with 40k, but I'm not quitting 40k. I'm just, I'm not hedging. I'm not putting all my eggs into one basket anymore, and then the basket gets kind of kicked over by somebody.
What about yourself? You can't retire from the hobby.
No, Jesus! I have too many orcs. Sure, like I have 100 grots in front of me that need building.
Well, you can't retire from it until I've beaten you in a game, and then
Oh, beat me in a game, and then I can hang up the gloves. Can I?
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, all right.
Pass the torch on. That's that word.
It's like, here, look, and there's an army. Yeah, no bother. Like all your Christmases came at the one time, and you'd be like, Jesus. Try to explain that one to the missus. There's a whole pallet load of miniatures.
Turn home, come home in a U-Haul van,
Yeah, I think you'd be shot, you would. You're like, what's all this? It's all right, love. It was given to me for free. It's like, yeah, but where's it going? It's like, we'll just put the kids in bunk beds. It'd be grand. Yeah, man.
You say that. I've just recently, all my scenery, my terrain was starting to overtake here, so I've had a bit of a change round in here, and I've got it all in these big storage boxes, and had a bit of a change round downstairs because that's where I play my games, down in the living room. And I thought, it's ridiculous. I'm lugging these massive boxes downstairs every day, so I moved my 3-year-old daughter's toy box to a different area of the room while she was at nursery, and moved all my scenery and storage boxes in. I was upstairs relaxing when she came home from play school, and I could hear her from upstairs. She was not impressed. She
No.
was most distressed that Dad hadn't first discussed the matter with her, and that her feelings and views hadn't been brought into consideration. The fact that her toy box was at the other side of the room now was a big issue for that day. She was not best pleased.
Does she have to walk further to get to her toys? Have you
No,
made the journey
not
further
as
for?
far, I just don't think she appreciated the aesthetics of the room now. She's
You've knocked the feng shui out of balance. That's what you've done.
The dolls and the bears and stuff, they weren't impressed with their new home, I guess. And she's like, what's all this crap, what's all this? Dad's moved all these broken buildings and mountains in here. And
what's Dad's junk doing here? What's happening? Oh, the terrain. Yeah, Jesus.
I did do the smart thing and clear it with the missus first, and she said, that's fine, you can have them down here, but don't start having all your half-built models and your paints and everything. And I said, no, I'll keep that upstairs. So now upstairs is for projects, work in progress. Downstairs is purely for finished things.
Stored in boxes. Yeah, well, yeah. You don't want it sort of taking over your living area. You don't want to live in the hobby. It's like there's living the hobby, and then there's living in the hobby. It's like you don't want to be living in the hobby. Getting up in the morning and putting your bare feet on the ground and you stand on a sprue full of goblins or something like that. You know what I mean? Oh,
it's even worse than Lego.
Yeah.
I think the most painful thing I've ever stood on is a Dark Elder Warrior.
Oh, no.
Those fuckers are spiky.
The most painful thing I can remember now, I think it was about 14 or 15. I think either my sister or my mother had left their hairdryer on the stairs. Do you know the way some people leave stuff on the stairs? It's like, I'll put that away later. I just haven't gotten around to it now because I haven't gone upstairs. So someone left their hairdryer on the stairs. And me running down the stairs, minding my own business. And of course, the plug, the 3 prongs.
Oh.
Yeah, oh my God, man, I nearly died. I think I literally stood on that and jumped 4 flights of stairs down to the bottom. The pain. That's the most painful thing I've stood on. My poor brother, I remember when we were younger, we used to go to a little village down in Wexford called Courtown. And I remember we took a shortcut across like a field, a little field. It was like a scrap area that people would put their refuse and stuff like that in the site that we used to stay in. And I went the normal route, and I think the 2 of us took the shortcut. So I took the shortcut first. Yeah, I took the shortcut first, and I ran through. And then my brother, and he was calling me. I was like, what's taking him so long? So he's calling me, and I'm like, all right. So I go back around, because it was a wall that you had to jump over, and there was a bit, so like the wall was high, and you jumped over the wall, and the land was a little bit higher there. So he jumped over the wall at that stage. So I come over to him, and I'm like, well, what's wrong? And he was stuck. He was literally stuck to a plank of wood. No joke, a nail about the size of this foil. I swear to God. He'd jumped over, and he had managed to, he stood on the nail. So he was literally stuck to the plank. I remember that. And I had to like...
Did it come right
No,
out?
it didn't go right through. It didn't go right through, but it did go into his foot. But he was... I remember, poor chap, like... And I literally had to... He was stuck, so I literally had to pull his foot off. We were only kids, like, we didn't know any better. And
it reminds me of the worst scene. I'm sure everyone's seen it. Home Alone, when Macaulay Culkin is in the house and they're getting in, and the guy is coming up the stairs. He's painting with the car, taking his shoes off
and in the socks. Yeah.
That scene, but every time I see that scene, I'm like, oh no, that's the worst.
Oh God. Oh yeah. Oh, so yeah, I think that's the worst thing I've seen someone stand on something. I'm sure we'll get in the comment section horror stories.
Flipping heck. Oh. Right, so I am working on this turret here, and I want the advice now. I think I know which way I'm going to go with it, but which way round this gun's going to go. So when I first saw it,
Show me
and I wanted to have the idea, what my original idea was, is to have it like so.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm a bit worried about this turret and this cabling, just the clearance of it. But I think it's just about all right. It seems to turn past without catching it.
For those
So
of
I
you
was-
who are
I was
only
gonna do it
listening,
sort of sideways like this, but it just doesn't have the same visual
Profile.
look.
do you want to describe to our listeners who don't actually watch what exactly you're sort of showing them? So it's what's the cannon from? It's a Necron.
Doomsday Cannon, I believe it's called, Necrons. And then on this side, it's actually got all the Necron glyphs and stuff, whereas on this side, it's just the join, the seam, and it just doesn't. When I have it that way,
Doesn't look the part, you know.
it doesn't look right. But that way,
So you're
to me,
rotating it 90 degrees so you can see
yeah, that
change the
just.
profile.
And you also see all the details and the glyphs on there, so you can see that these boys have looted it from the tin heads.
Yeah.
You know.
So for people just listening, he's wondering what orientation to put his cannon. One of 90 degrees, and it's being connected up to the battle wagon turret. So it's that big, thick-off Necron gun that comes into transport, or button up to the battle wagon turret. I think you've oh man, you've 3 more. You could build a quad mount. Oh.
I was thinking a dual one would look pretty cool, but yeah, he's really cool actually as well, because he sent them to me, and he's been using them as scenery, because he's got them glued onto bases so they stand up. So
like pylon type things,
towers and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe who's the guy that makes the massive scale? Everything he does in Orcs is always huge scale.
Is it Geargut'z?
Might be.
He's made the massive. It's the guy who does all the 3D printing stuff, like this turret here.
So, like, I guess for him, 3 of these just make the perfect KFF, don't they?
Probably, yeah. Like some of the stuff he's built. Yeah, I've been messing with 3D printing. I don't know if we told our subscribers. So I've started to muck around with stuff. So I've been keeping busy as well. But this is one of his files. Geargut'z.
Oh, I recognise it now. Now you've said that, yes.
This is only a test print, though. I haven't dialed in my 3D printer, so this is a failed print. It failed. You can see the top of it didn't print out great, and then the underneath of it sort of lifted in one of the corners. So I can use this as a piece of terrain, like, or a bit of scrap, something like that. You know what I mean? But yeah,
or even clean up certain bits of it and then cover the. You could
you could rescue it. You could. I suppose you could try and rescue it. But I'm looking at it and I'm going, this probably cost me less than 20 pence to make. So it's like, it's not the end of the world. I'll use it as a bit of terrain or whatever, as a test print. I'm actually rather surprised at how the barrels come out. Pretty nice.
Oh, it's the great detail and stuff on there. It's awesome. His designs are awesome. Been seeing them on the
yeah, man. Have you seen?
Like the always sharing designs on there, and they look just astounding. Amazing. Got some talent there, buddy. Got some serious talent. Design talent.
He does indeed. Fair play to him. I think he just finished this Stomper, and it literally smokes the GW Stomper. It's ridiculous.
Hard. Sorry, Stomper fans.
Oh, well, yeah, the handful that are out there. I call it
it's the pace he works at as well, like the design, and then it almost feels like the very next day. Oh, here's my new design.
Oh, lads, I started on an aircraft like 4 hours later. Oh, there you go. Yeah. It's like, you what?
Yeah.
Fair play to him. He's got a Patreon. I'll probably throw a link somewhere for his Patreon, because he I think if you subscribe to his Patreon, you get the files. Yeah, it's different levels, but you should give him a shout out, whatever. That's a Patreon on.
Yeah, definitely. We'll get that link posted down in the description below, definitely, so you guys can go and check it out, because it's good stuff. Maybe we should, in a future episode, cover him properly and show off his stuff properly. Actually, it would be a good shout.
Yeah,
actually,
no, better
I'm sure the viewers would be interested to see this stuff. And I know the 3D printing is becoming a lot more popular now, a lot more affordable. A lot more people are getting into it, so it might be something that the viewers, if you are interested in seeing that, guys, share in the comments below, and it'll be something we can take a look at and promote this stuff.
Well, yeah, 3D printing in large. We didn't plan on talking about it, but you know, we can touch on it a little bit. Like, I bought a 3D printer to make terrain more so the miniatures, because I know, like, if you're playing in your local games workshop and you rock up with like a 3D printed miniature, they're gonna be like, Jesus, get out, banned.
But they don't allow Legends units. What chance?
Yeah, Legend units, 3D printed miniatures, get out of here. So I can understand people not wanting to do 3D printed miniatures, but the logic behind it, I was thinking, is like, well, what's stopping you from 3D printing terrain? Like, you're not.
Totally. I think that's been a big use of it for a long time, hasn't it? Because I think 3D printers themselves have come on a lot lately, and the detail they can do is a lot better, and the finish of the final product is getting a lot better, isn't it, as they come along? And they're still really in their infancy, aren't they? And I think they're still going to come on a long way, and God, who knows where it's going to go in the future.
Yeah, it's crazy, like, but it's definitely. I remember talking about 3D printers, like they were becoming sort of a thing that I became aware of in like 2009 or something like that, 2008. I was like, nah, they looked like the prints looked crap. But then Geargut'z, the guy we're talking about, he was showing me miniatures he was printing, and I was like, what? You can print miniatures? It's like, holy smokes! But it's crazy, man. I think it tends to be really big with a lot of D&D players, like guys who print out dungeon tiles, but they print whole miniatures as well. Like, very surprising. And I think lately, the price of some of the low-end printers that will give you some good quality prints are 200-300 quid. You know what I mean? But it's a whole ball of experimenting that you get into. So it's like, and a lot of fiddling around and adjusting. So it's a hobby in and of itself. But I can see wargaming and tabletop printers could go hand in hand, wanting to print off bits. Or even, but you know what I was thinking would be good? Would be printing substructures. So if you're not happy with the finish of a 3D printed model, say you wanted to make a battle fortress, you just print out a substructure and then just clad it in plastic card. That would look swank.
Yeah.
It'd mean sort of a hybrid.
Yeah, even if the finish is because I think the finish that a lot of certainly the cheaper lower end ones do, that you get the sort of the lines, don't you? You get the lines almost like on a vinyl record. You've got these sort of lines through it where you can see it's layered it, and they're very visible and stuff. So, but like you say, even if you're building like you say the substructure to then lay sort of armor plating and things over the top of, and then for things like scenery and stuff is less of an issue. And
oh, definitely, yeah.
I think certainly some of the higher end ones really minimise that stuff, don't they? Almost non-existent.
It's crazy. The time we're living in now is crazy. You can literally buy resin printers.
It is true.
Print off
sci-fi
miniatures.
Stuff, man. It really
is mad.
Right, that just about clears that turret. So I think that has decided it for me. I will glue it on like that.
Are you going to glue it on directly, are you?
Yeah, I'm just checking that it doesn't. I know it's Orky. I know Orcs don't consider this stuff much, but I do want the turret to be able to swivel round without. I do want it to actually look like it can work.
You don't really have to worry about that anymore. The rules, there isn't really facing for weapons. You know what I mean? So it's like, meh. But I get you. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah, it doesn't mean I want it to look shit. I want to get this competition, man.
All the guns just like pointed directly up in the air. Be grand. We'll use them. You can shoot everywhere.
This competition one, if it's judging anything by the last one.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I'm not
against it, because these guys, like some of the guys we've just been talking about, the talent on display is unreal. I mean, I'm just doing some kit bashing. This is fairly advanced for me, what I'm doing. I've been hacking models up and using bits, and I'm just kit bashing. Some of these people are just scratch building this stuff from nothing. A few sheets of plastic art, and they're creating stuff that looks like the equivalent of a Forge World model. It's astounding. Or they're 3D printing their own stuff and designing stuff. It's amazing what some people can do.
There's a lot of top-end stuff, but I don't think people should be disheartened. I think that happens with people as well when they see really good stuff, because there's different ways to win things. Now, I haven't announced the prizes because I'm still gathering stuff together, but there's 3 different methods you could win something. So there's best theme. So if you come up for a team for a build, like say you build I know you build a freebooted battle wagon and you get a land raider and you turn it into sort of like a land ship or something like that. So there's going to be like someone will win something for the best theme. Then there's going to be the best quality build, which is pretty much the build itself, like how much detail and effort you've put into it. It's sort of the opposite of it would be if someone got like a blob of glue and dropped it into their bits box and pulled it out and went, "There you go, there's my conversion." That wouldn't win anything. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so if you put a lot of effort into the build of your vehicle and it shines, like you can tell that a lot of time, a lot of care, and a lot of effort's being put into your build, and the finish on it's really nice. There's going to be a prize for that, and then there'll be a prize for best overall, which will be like elements of how well it's built, the theme, and then we'll take paint job into account in that one as well, for some points, because a lot of the guys like painting their stuff, but you don't have to paint. It's a building competition. But best overall, I think we'll tick all of the boxes.
Well, you're a fucker, see, because I was actually getting some painting done. Me, I was actually getting some painting done. Jeez, I finished my mech guns. I'm
got the Geargut'z
way through the Grot crew now, and so I was actually getting some stuff done for once in my bloody life. And then you had to launch a bloody build competition
for October. How dare I? How dare I?
As if we're not busy enough. I don't know, but it's cool. The last one was great.
It's fun. I like them.
It is really good fun, and it's fun building it, getting involved, and it's fun seeing what other people do. And like you say, don't get disheartened. Do not get disheartened. Whatever level you're at, if it's the first time you've ever had a go at building anything or converting or kit bashing anything, just give it a go and have some fun with it. Because regardless of whether you win or lose, like you've said in your video about it, which we'll pop a thing in the corner to pop up, we'll pop a link in.
Oh, for the rules, yeah.
It's everyone wins, because at the end of it, everyone who's entered is left with a converted or scratch built or kit bashed new vehicle that they can be proud of. And you're going to learn things along the way, and you're going to make some mistakes, and you're going to, but it's good fun, and it's what being a true Orc player is about. And there we go. Right, I've glued the bugger on. Let's have a look.
How's she looking?
Just trying to make sure it's all lined up. It's funny, although I'm still concerned about symmetry and making sure things are lined up properly.
Well, yeah, I get that. You're not compensating for anything at all.
Yeah, it's got some length on it, isn't it? Bit of girth as well.
That's what she said. I think the gun is literally the length of the Rhino. Like, I love it.
Which is why I'm glad that I've extended the front out of it, so it's actually just
sticks out
a little bit further. But yeah, I'm looking at that actually. Oh shit. Things really
it's kind of broke it. It's kind of broke it now. Look, Jesus.
Let's turn it around the other way so you can see it with the turret there.
Hold on, let me enlarge it for the viewers. Yeah, it's that gun is literally the length of the Rhino it's mounted on. I love it.
And I think that fits the rules really nicely. Looking at that gun, and it was weighing up between. I knew I wanted this weapon before I knew what I wanted to build. So then I started looking through this index at like, right, what gun can this represent? This can't just be a kill cannon. It's got to be something better than that. Because it's just ludicrous. So I wanted it to make sure it could be something really good. So my choices were either the super cannon or the lifter dropper.
I think the super cannon's good, isn't it? It's got like 2d6 because I have a super cannon.
Really good. Yeah, it's a very nice gun. So the super cannon has a range of 60 inches. So the length of this barrel sort of accommodates for that, and the way that it's sort of aimed upwards there, it sort of looks like a nice kind of. So yeah, 60-inch range, heavy 2d6, strength 8, AP -2, 3 damage. So it's effectively 2d6 rocket launcher with a 60-inch range. So it's tasty. And then you've got the lifter dropper, which is a range of 48 inches, heavy d6. And then it doesn't have any strength, AP, or damage. It just says this weapon hits automatically. Each time an enemy unit is hit by this weapon, roll 2d6. If the result equals or exceeds the target's toughness, in the book it says strength, but that's been FAQ'd, I've checked, it suffers a mortal wound. So, yeah. Not quite so good, but quite cool for fluff reasons and that. Lifter dropper.
Yeah, bit of a laugh, you know yourself.
And again, I think this thing looks like a mad sort of mech sort of gun where it would potentially. So I could use this as both there, really. Although the lifter wagon that it comes on is clearly a battle wagon with this gun on that I know Forge World makes something that actually
they used to. They don't anymore.
Does not look too dissimilar to this actually.
Yeah, the lifter claw. There's like a claw on the front of it, like a tractor beam sort of type thing.
The only trouble is, because I've based it on a Rhino, I don't have enough room to fit as many sponsons as I'd like to, because it can have up to 4 sponsons. It comes with two big shooters as standard, but you can have a further 2 turrets, 2 of which can be grot sponsons.
Just have like 2 turrets sticking out the side of the Rhino, and then have 2 turrets sticking out the side of the turret.
There's put it on the side sponsons, but again, I'm kind of looking at the aesthetics of it, and although I would like more DACA for game terms, I kind of like the look.
Gone by the rule of cool, are you?
Yeah, so I'm just kind of going more for the look really at this stage. And I did initially have the Havoc launcher because I got a Chaos Rhino because I love those Havoc launchers, the sort of missile racks. I love those. They're so good. And I did originally have the idea of having that on there, but actually the big shooter's range will go nicely with the range of this gun because this vehicle is essentially going to be sitting at the back of the board. But yeah, big tracks. If you want something that you can play around with and have loads of options, I think it's probably the best vehicle available to the Orc Army in terms of that. Because you've got choice of super scorchers, zap guns, big lobbers, kill cannons, big zapper, flacker guns, grot sponsons, cannons, lobbers, super cannon, rocket launcher, scorcher, big shooter. That's all the options of weapons it's got. It's just a massive list of options, which gets me going.
Gets you converting juices flowing, does it?
You could build one big track that's completely different from the other big track. You can have one that's built with a scorcher and big transport capacity, and then one with no transport capacity and just big guns and all sorts of shit. And they can look like anything because a big track is essentially the big track that Forge World actually sell is essentially it's a truck with caterpillar tracks. Basically.
Very much, yeah.
So yeah, I just kind of based it on the same kind of thing that it's almost like a half track. It's got the wheels at the front and the Rhino tracks on there, and yeah. But
you could, I suppose you could get like a truck kit and then get like a scale model kit with tracks and just sort of.
Yeah, that looked pretty cool. It reminded me of that old '80s toy trucker pillar that used to be around.
Trucker? I think that's before my time now.
Yeah, everyone of a certain age, you remember. It's referenced quite heavily on the film Big with Tom Hanks.
And I remember that film, all right.
Yeah, a trucker pillar. It was basically a truck, like I say, with caterpillar tracks that had trailers on it that were very orky, actually. Someone could just buy one of those toys and orkify it up, actually.
Away there you go.
I imagine if you Google search it, someone probably already has.
What, a looted trucker pillar?
Probably. The name sounds orky, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, actually. It does. Orky enough. Trucker pillar.
Right. Sorry. Well, I've essentially now, that is basically, I've got the whole sort of initial thing of it now. Now I've just got the difficult bits to do. I've got to fill gaps and plasticard bits on here, and that's where it's going to be a bit more challenging for me, and even a little bit of green stuff work around some of these bits, I think. And I'm going to probably try. So yeah, advice actually. Cabling. What does everyone do for their cables? You know, I know some people do green stuff cables. Some people I've seen people use hair bands, old wires from plugs and things. You know, what does everyone use for cables, and what's probably the best thing to use?
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I use a few different things myself, but I'd like to see what people advise. It's always interesting when you ask a question like that and somebody replies with something and you're like, Oh yeah, you know what I mean? Like something like so obvious, yet you just haven't thought of it.
Something you've got lying around the house
It's
all
like
the
staring
time.
at you in the face all the
Yeah.
time, and you're like, you pillock. You should have thought of this.
There's certain things like I think green stuff is great. 'Cause it's fairly simple use for green stuff to roll out of wiring, and you've got the things that you can actually put the green stuff world and stuff do the things where you can press them and actually have the texture of like ribbed sort of cabling and things now, can't they? Quite detailed stuff you can do with them
Yeah,
now.
the tube makers. I actually got a tip about using them. Someone said if you make the green stuff and then let it stand for about 10 or 15 minutes, so it's not sticky anymore,
Yeah.
and then use it in the roller.
Press it while it's still got that bit of softness.
It's still a bit
Yeah.
soft, but it's no longer at. You know the way like green stuff can be sticky initially, and
Yeah.
it'll stick to your it sticks to bleed and everything.
Oh yeah,
So you
including
can
your hands.
sticks to everything, man.
But
Yeah,
it's I don't know. I'm sort of thinking, so like I say, from that gun, I want to get some cabling and stuff coming out of the gun into the turret mounting itself to look like, you know, they've got all power conduits and shit powering this stupid looking gun. And I just want to figure out what the best thing I can use for cabling, because using wires is obviously just normal wires that you can get, you know, from whatever, is obviously a good idea, an easy idea. But then they're going to have a bit of flex to them, which is going to pose a problem with painting, because then if they flex and move, the paint's going to start cracking. Green stuff can be a bit brittle if it's a big sort of freestanding bit of green stuff and it's thin like that, it could break. So kind of thinking for not only for it to look good and be fairly easy to do, but also be able to weather, you know, being transported and gamed with.
guitar string's a good one. Not a bad one there. Durable. You play guitar, Stevo?
No.
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 Gone into the music store to buy strings, and it's like, no.
I am an absolute demon with an air guitar, but
Guitar hero myself. Yeah.
yeah.
It's like that was as good as I got.
Oh, I couldn't even do Guitar Hero, man. Whew, I was terrible at that game.
I used to love that game. Break wreck.
I used to play back in the day DJ Hero. I had.
I never even heard of that.
Yeah, it was made by the same people. It was a spin-off. You could actually connect the guitar up with it and do like mashup tracks. So one of you's on the decks and one of you's on the guitar. It was, yeah, that was a good game. I could do that, but I could never get the hang of the Guitar Hero. So yeah. So what are it's getting back to this build competition. So like I say, guys, we've been chatting about this build competition. I appreciate this episode's going out on my channel, so some of you who are watching now may not have heard anything about this build competition. You can find the rules for it on our community page, the 40k community page on Facebook.
I made a video.
We have a link for below, and Skarnir has a video on his channel talking through all the rules and how you enter, what the rules are, and you know what the restrictions are and everything. He's got a few restrictions on there. I think it's like 8 inches long, 4 inches wide, so it's pretty impressive. I think there's no Legends units allowed. But yeah, the rules, we will pop a link on the description to that video, and we'll have a link to the Facebook group. And so, yeah, everything you need to be able to access to get yourselves involved in this build competition, guys, because get yourselves involved. It'll be great fun. I think most of our viewers are probably in the middle of converting and building something right now anyway. So why not enter it in a competition? And
from scratch.
Yeah.
Has to be from scratch now. Remember?
Yes.
None of this. I'll pull this one out of the closet I built 5 years ago, Malark.
Yes, and there are rules on there and ways to enter to prove that is the case, that you are building from scratch. You're starting a new project. But yeah, get yourselves involved, guys, because it's great fun. And then it'll become famous because it'll be featured on Skarnir's channel, and you could win yourself some cool prizes. What were the prizes on the last competition? There was some good stuff given out, wasn't there?
There was. I still have Dreadwaz prize here. I haven't had the chance to go out to him. He said not to post it to him to go out to him. So I gave away like an Orc War Buggy. There was some box bits the last time around. Cromlech gave us a prize for €30, a digital voucher. They've done that again, so at least one of the prizes we know is a Cromlech digital voucher. So say thank you to Cromlech. Fair play to them. Yeah, there's a good few bits and pieces. I have some stuff in the pipework this time around, but I'm not.
So yeah,
I'm
straight
not.
away, I want to win that Cromlech voucher, man, because
We have the Cromlech voucher for 30 quid. Their stuff is.
we've started to see the things that they've got coming for October, and
I know,
yeah.
man. Yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
Cromlech's gonna be emptying a few Orc players' wallets this October. I can tell you. Jeez, flipping heck.
Some
Yeah,
good stuff
Cromlech,
already.
they know how to celebrate October. They did a good job last year with all the terrain and bits and stuff they had coming out with. But this year, they are pulling. They're pulling no punches. They're
They've been
going.
banging that drum for a few months now as well, man. Like fair play to them.
Did
You
you
know what I mean?
see? Did you see the new tank they've just
They
unveiled?
released it,
Their
so yeah,
Tiger, which
Tiger type tank. Yeah, I like it. I think it looks cool.
it looks very cool. It looks like something that's very kit bashable, and loads of options of it, different turrets and stuff. And that's just the first thing they've kind of leaked properly from this new stuff. They've got all sorts of shit coming out. Bomb squigs, Orc Rock Band. Yeah, good shit coming.
Oh, good
But
bits and pieces. Good
mm,
orky goodness.
mm. CGW, this is what we want.
This is how it's done, mate. You know what I mean?
It's done. It's not difficult. It's not difficult. It's not difficult at all. We're very easily pleased, really. Just give us a load of shit that has a load of different options and weapons in it. We'll be happy.
Exactly. And as long as it's not terrible on the table, we'll be grand. Says the man building 100 grots, but never mind.
Yeah, like I say, I've got no idea how competitive this vehicle is I'm building, but damn, it's going to look cool.
That's fun. I don't think it's like uber competitive. I could be wrong now. There's a build of the big track I was interested in doing, which was, I think it's the one with a load of scorches, and then I think it's like a heavy scorcher or something like that as well. That looks like fun.
That's what Green Tide 40K built, isn't it, for his big track? He's done that with a heavy or a super scorcher and a couple more scorcher. That was built from a Rhino as well, but he's used bike chain for the tracks around it, which is a cool little touch.
Oh, that one. Yeah. I remember that.
That was quite cool. And very goth style. Just ram it up the board as quick as you can and burn everyone's face off. Good shit.
Make them do the Borny dance.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to have to wait. If I don't glue this turret in so I can move it, I'm going to have to weigh it down and put something inside this bit to give it weight, because it is very front heavy now. It no longer sits on there, but I am liking this so far. I've got to orcify the hell out of it once I finish building it. I've got I've went through my bits box and I've got all my glyphs and spare bits of orc armor plating out, ready to just slap them all over this Rhino. Looking at these thrusters, I think I will put the thrusters on the back, because
that sounds like a good idea. Yeah, just build like a box out plastic art or something like that, or have loads of wires poking into them.
Yeah, this is coming along quite nicely. I'm quite liking it. It's got a bit of work to do, a bit of filing, a bit of cleaning up and stuff, but it's that plastic art bit that's going to be the most challenging bit, because it's all angled and stuff. So
yeah,
I thought what I would do for that bit is make it first out of cardboard. I would just get an old cereal box or something and cut it out and get the shape and the dimensions right.
Yeah.
And then I use that as a template for the plastic card.
That's not bad
the plan.
Thinking, yeah.
I've never really done any serious work with plastic art. I've used it to sort of just fill some gaps and bits before and cover like mistakes and things. I've never really done anything with it. And also advice from either yourself or anyone watching in the comment section. Rivets. I want really, really small rivets. Rivets like the equivalent size to what they are on this battle wagon turret. What can I use for rivets? Really small ones.
I use styrene rod that I cut up. It's really finely. So this like super. I don't know the dimensions of this one, but it's really.
Yeah, it looks quite nice and small actually. That's what I probably need to
And
get
then you just
something
get
like.
it like a salami sausage, and you just. But there are
Yeah,
other ways to do it. I've seen people, old school methods. People used to take the water filters apart and do it that way. There's loads of ways. There's guys. There's scale models. There's like there's a tool you can get. Think of it like a cowboy spur. So you know, like on
yeah.
cowboy boots, the way they have a sporting is you'll run it along and it'll leave indentations in the plastic card. There's loads of ways. There's literally loads of ways.
See, this is why this is good. I'm learning. I'm learning. I'm
Well,
building this
we're
stuff.
always
I'm learning.
learning. I think some people forget that we're always learning, no matter how old you are. Like this whole idea that you can't teach an old dog new tricks is bullshit. Absolute bullshit. We're always learning. We're always learning. We just absorb a lot more when we're really young, but you never stop learning. You know what I mean? Speaking of learning and teaching the youths tricks, I've recently been playing Heroquest with
Oh,
me brother and me nephew, my 5-year-old nephew. He is loving it, man, and he actually gets it. Like he's playing the game properly, and it's like, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to search for treasure? Do you want to look for traps? Of course, he always wants to search for treasure, like always.
he comes from the looting generation. You know, he's playing is all about loot boxes and stuff, so he's going to want to do that.
Always treasure. Always thinking of treasure. But yeah, so I've been enjoying that as well, playing Hero Quest.
Oh, I bet, man. That takes me back. That was my very first taste of Games Workshop, the earliest, and I probably wasn't much older than him when I had my first game of Hero Quest. We used to, me and my dad would go around friends of his and sort of play it as a family game around the table, and we'd play all different board games. But Hero Quest was one that, yeah, that's got some memories there.
Stuck with you.
Love that game. Love that game.
It's actually, I was worried that it was just nostalgia, but it's actually like it's a solid game. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It's not just a case of I remember this from years ago. Oh, it must be great, like the nostalgia kick. It's like, oh, well, this isn't actually a bad game. It's a dungeon crawler.
It's the most mainstream Games Workshop ever went. I think it's where you would walk into a toy shop and see that on the shelves. You'd walk into your Woolworths or whatever, it would be on the shelves. And I think there's many people that have no idea what Games Workshop is or what Warhammer is, but people of a certain age will remember Hero Quest. It really did get out into the mainstream. It was advertised on telly, for God's sake. I remember the commercials for it.
Broadsword.
Yeah. Oh, that video. Oh, the bard. Was it the bard? The bard.
Bardic Broadcasts. If you haven't seen the Bardic Broadcast video, his review of Hero Quest, go watch it. It is hilarious. It is absolutely hilarious. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, astounding. He's every now and again you watch a YouTube video of such high quality, such just brilliant content that you watch it and you're like, why am I even bothering?
It's like, why do I make videos?
I'm never gonna make a video that even comes anywhere close to that. It was absolutely hilarious and brilliant and just astounding stuff. Yeah, we'll have to pop a link to that video in the description. People go and check out.
That'll have to happen.
Owe it to yourselves, guys. You owe it to yourselves to watch it.
Even if you've no idea what Hero Quest is, you've never played it, you've never come across, just watch the video. It explains everything.
Definitely. Everything. Oh no, Mormons! Right. Well, guys, I think we've probably been going for over an hour now, haven't we?
We've been rambling for.
Smashed that. So
about an hour 20. Something like that. Hour.
Bring it to a close. So, like I say, guys, check in the description below for details on how you can enter Skarnirs vehicle build competition, because it's going to be really cool and there's awesome prizes up for grabs. And share your thoughts below on the Legends debate, and chuck your pennies worth in there, and let us know what you're going to be building in this vehicle build competition. And yeah, we will see you on the next episode of Two Bald Knobs. This is 6+ Stevo signing out.
And goodbye from Skarnir.